The C5 Corvette is still the best performance bargain on the entire used car market, but it still struggles from something quite major. There has been a lot of companies like Night Drive TV who have tried to modernize the look of the C5 Corvette, but it's still not modern on the interior. The main reason is the interior of these things feels like a trash bag straight out of the factory. The infotainment is like a 90s Tahoe. It's so old and crappy to use, but Night Drive TV has come up with a new product that completely changes the game. With his brand new product that he's calling the MaxDin. This is a full plug-and-play unit that completely replaces the radio, climate control, and everything associating itself with the technology inside of the C5. Today, we're gonna be one of the first people to officially install this. We're gonna show off how to install it, how it officially functions. We're gonna unbox it. Without wasting any more time, let's get after it. Now let's go ahead and get started with the unboxing. As you receive your box for the MaxDin, it's actually really well packaged. So let's go ahead and open it up. And right on the inside is the names of all the people that helped support this project by ordering these units early on to ultimately turn it into what we have in our hands today. And then we open it up to see the actual product. Now the product itself is shown right here. I actually have it upside down. So this unit actually features some buttons here on the side, and this nicely integrates straight into the dashboard. Now the remaining parts of the box include this SIM adapter because we can't actually run a SIM card in the MaxDin, and all of these connections and tools, including cameras, different harnesses in case you have aftermarket audio, but we're gonna get into that once we get into the install. Now I should mention you do not have to remove the seats to install this screen. I simply have them removed to get you guys better shots and angles of this interior since this is such a tight space. Now the first thing that we need to do is open up our armrest here. You'll need yourself a small flathead screwdriver, remove these two clips, and once you remove these two clips, we're gonna need a 10mm, and we are going to come over here and remove this 10, as well as a 10 on this side. Once we do have both of those 10s removed, we're gonna come up here and just kind of pull up on this cover, and then kind of lean it forward and remove both of these connections. Once we have those two connections done, we can simply set that out of the way, then remove this clip, and then we have two additional 10mm right down here. Once we have all of those removed, we're gonna start removing this cluster right here. We're gonna start by just kind of taking a screwdriver, popping this guy off. Once we have that off, we have a T15 right here. Then we're gonna come over here under our radio. We're gonna pull out this cigarette ashtray. We have another T15 right down here. And there's one additional T15 right on the other side under this little cover. Once we have all of those removed, we're gonna take our fingers right behind this armrest and kind of pull backwards. You wanna do this very slowly because there's still one more connection we need to remove. I sometimes find it easier to go ahead and take the shifter boot off and kind of pull up on all the corners just like this, and then apply the e-brake. And once you have the e-brake applied and that shifter piece up, just kind of pull back on this cluster and shove this cluster sideways down into this whole front plate that kind of holds that radio and climate control together, and you should be able to take this all out as one unit. Now one thing that we are going to be eliminating is, check this out, there was an additional spot for power on the back of this unit where you could charge your phone or do something like that. We're going to remove that right now, and we are not actually going to be reinstalling that with the new MaxDin. Now this is the unit that we're going to be working with in this entire video. We're going to be taking all of this out. So let's start off with grabbing a 7mm and taking out this radio. There's one 7 right on the side here, and an additional 7 on the other. Then we're going to do the same for our air conditioning. Now another massive benefit to pulling out this crappy climate cluster is this is super problematic and known to be an issue on these cars. Whether it's dim display, not responding correctly, or whatever, this is actually solving something that is a known failure on these cars. So I think that's pretty cool. Now we're just going to go ahead and start by removing this guy right here. There's one large connection on the back. Just go ahead and grab both the blue and the gray clips, squeeze them together while wiggling back and forth. And then we're gonna move up to our radio. This guy's gonna take a little bit more effort to pull out, but just nicely kind of pull it out. Of course, don't let it drop. It's a little bit heavier. We'll just kind of let that whole unit kind of fall forward so we can access those connections on the rear. Now, as you pull your radio out, you can maneuver some of these wires around and kind of pull them out to get a little bit more access to the rear of this thing. Now, the first thing that you're going to go ahead and do is pull out this antenna. It's just going to sit in here like this. You can just yank it right out. Nothing is concern of breaking by just giving that thing a good yank. Now, there's two separate clips right here. This rear one, we want to pull this white tab, kind of weasel it out. We're going to kind of pull up lightly. You want to make sure you don't break any wires or anything like that. These can be kind of fragile. They've been in here for, 25 years or so. And we're just going to slowly work this thing out just like that. And then the same thing for the clip in front of it. Just another white tab to pull and remove both of those. Now over here on this side, same thing. Black tab right in front, squeeze. just kind of wiggle back and forth, and we're going to slowly remove this. Next up, let's get ourselves a nice clean work surface and make sure we put a towel down, that way we don't scratch up the screen, because we need to set it down face first. Then inside of our packaging, we're going to grab both of these little metal clamps they just kind of look like this. There's 2 of them. We also have a small baggie of black Phillips screws. Let's grab those as well as a Phillips screwdriver. We're then going to take the MaxDin, flip it down face first, and set it right on the edge of our table, just like this. Of course, make sure that you don't accidentally drop it. We are then going to take our factory cluster here, and we're going to flip it down face first right onto the MaxDin. Just kind of come down just like this, and it lines up very nicely, very easily, just like so. We then take these clamps, like I just showed, and they line up perfectly with the screws on the back of the MaxDin, which hold it right to its face. Then take those Phillips screws and just screw them right on in. Now don't be overwhelmed by the amount of wires and connections that come with the MaxDin. We're going to break that down in just a second, but we're going to start off with installation with this wire right here. What this wire does is it connects the top unit to the bottom unit. So these can only go in one way. We're going to go ahead and take this guy and plug it in down on the bottom. You'll hear it snap properly. We're going to go to the top, and we're going to also install that same wire right on the top. For those of us that are running factory audio, we're going to use this harness right here. It just features a red and a white connection, and then it also has some labeled connections if we wanted to do some heated seats and ventilated seats in the future. This guy is going to go ahead and plug in right down here. We then are going to take this one with 2 whites, 2 reds, and a green. What this one does is it powers our speakers, and they're all labeled accordingly to plan. Now, if we are running our factory audio, what we're going to do is plug this guy right into the top left. There's only one spot that it goes into. You'll hear it nicely snap in. And then we're going to take our front right and our front left red and white cable. So as you can see, we have our front left, front right, and we're going to plug those into our white and red down here on the bottom. We then are going to take this harness here with the black, the brown, the red, the white, the yellow. We're going to take this connector and plug it in right next to this one that we used for the radio. So it just kind of plugs in and snaps in just like so. This is used for our backup camera and our microphone. Now that we have all these wires in, we're going to move on to our antennas, and we're going to start off with this GPS antenna right here. This is the blue clip. And the blue clip simply just goes onto the blue clip just like so. We're gonna go ahead and route this kind of in the car once we are to that point. We then have another antenna right here, and both this antenna as well as this antenna go into these 2 right here. So they simply just screw on just like this. Moving to the cable that has 2 USBs on it. Now one of these USBs we're going to run to our glove box. That way we can actually power our cameras off of that. The additional USB, it could be used for future updates. It could be used to upload music or stuff like that. It's for future use. But we take this brown connector here, and we're going to go ahead and plug it right into the center right down here. And just like this, it goes ahead and clicks right in. And this cable here is if you want to run a SIM card on the MaxDin. So if you actually want to have a cellular service to this and have a phone number through it and all that good stuff. This is the SIM card adapter essentially. You just open the slot up and slide the SIM card in there. And this guy just plugs in right in between all of the harnesses that we've plugged in so far. Just right here. And plugs in just into that spot there. I don't plan on running a SIM card, so I'm not going to run this cable, but be sure to keep all of these cables in case it's anything that you want to do in the future. Now the last thing that we're going to plug in at this current moment is this antenna adapter. It just goes right into the top here, and that should be everything for install. Now there is additional cameras and other things that we plug into these guys as we go along, but let's work on getting this put into the car itself, and then we're going to start working on the cameras. Now as we get this back into the car, the easiest thing to do here is take the radio cables and actually push them back behind kind of this metal platform here and pull them through the bottom. Now the reason for this is all the connections for these are on the bottom, so having them all right here makes them really accessible. Trust me, I know you guys are just as excited as me to get this thing officially installed and put in here and start testing, but let's run a couple more wires quick just to make our lives easier before we put those official plugs in. Let's start off with this little included microphone. That way, well, we have audio on phone calls. You want the microphone to be as close to the driver as possible, and there's a lot of places you can put it, but I'm actually choosing this one right right here. I just actually clipped it to the air temperature sensor itself, so when it's closed, it will sit right into that little vent where the air temperature sensor sits, and it should pick up everything from the driver, and that way you can just easily run the cable right behind here. And once we have the microphone wire ran, we're going to go into the harness with the black, the brown, the red, the white, and the yellow on the back of the MaxDin. And we're going to take that microphone wire and just plug it straight into the black harness, and that should give us our microphone, and that's really nicely placed as well, and it's going to be behind that vent that already has the cutouts, so audio should be really clean. Now that we're about halfway through the install, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. However, there's still 95% of you guys that have not been hitting that subscribe button, so please support this father-son team, hit that subscribe button. Let's get back to the install. Next, we have to route the HDMIs into the glove box itself. Those two HDMIs that we plugged in on the back earlier, that one that I mentioned that could be for future updates and stuff like that, and the other one is so we can start wiring the cameras. So I just went ahead and I kind of went through this hole right here, angled it forward, and as I pushed, it managed to make its way over to the glove box. And after we get that HDMI cable routed, we're gonna follow the exact same thing, but backwards with this cable that I have not shown yet. This is the intermediate harness for our cameras. This section goes into the back of the MaxDin, which we're gonna show you in just a second, and then these guys run to the dash camera as well as the rear camera. Let's show you how to get it in. So just like this, we only want the yellow with the red end actually fed through here, and the remainder of all this wire, we're gonna keep on the glove box side for now. We're then once again gonna go on the back of the MaxDin, and on that same harness that we just plugged that microphone into, we're gonna go to the brown connector, CCDV, and we're gonna plug this yellow straight into the brown. And then on this main harness, the one that runs from the top to the bottom to communicate with everything, there should be an additional wire. It kind of depends on what color it is. It depends on when your MaxDin came out. Mine is blue, and it should just be labeled back. This blue wire, we're going to tap into the wire that we just plugged into that brown connector. So that red wire, we're gonna tap in just like this. Now I know what you guys are thinking. I thought this was all plug and play, and it is. These simple connectors are included with the MaxDin. And all you do is put one wire on the one side, and then we're gonna put the other wire on the other side, and then we simply just fold this around and clamp it down. It's really that easy. We are officially done with the wiring on the back of the MaxDin. Everything that we need is plugged into the back of this thing, and we are done with the unit itself. It's time to start running wires throughout the cars, but rather than just leaving this as a big mess, let's actually put the MaxDin back in and just get it running and functioning the way that it's supposed to before we start running wire. One thing to really pay attention to as we start installing some of these factory clips is where the plastic nubs are that actually lock them into place. Now you can put some of these in upside down on accident and the unit will power on if you do put these in upside down. So just pay attention, like this blue one, for example. You can clearly tell that this is where the clip locks onto, meaning that it can only go in this way, and this is where it locks into place. So just pay attention to where the locks are and where the actual locks and the clips are as you place them in. That way you place them upright in the correct order. Now I'm going to slowly work on starting to get some of these plugs in. It is quite a tight area, so getting this on camera could be a bit of a challenge. However, just follow this guide that I have on screen now, and you should be able to figure it out quite easily. It's pretty straightforward, quite frankly. And one of the things to also note and pay attention to is if you have any aftermarket jumpers, wires, if you have a double DIN already installed, you need to essentially revert your car back to stock entirely. Once you're back to stock, you should be able to fire this thing up, no issues. And because of how the dashboard is set up on the C5, accessing this from the passenger side does seem to be dramatically easier. So if you come over here, you can kind of slightly set it at an angle. If you leave that shifter in, it kind of gives you more access to be able to tilt it and lean it over here from the passenger. We have all of our factory plugs in. We're gonna go ahead and fire this thing up now and make sure that it works properly and all functions are working. That way we make sure we have all the plugs in the right way and everything's good to go. This should be the screen that we initially see. Let's just go ahead and test out a couple of things to make sure that it's working properly. We're gonna start off with our climate control. Let's make sure that our fan properly boots up and everything seems to be working. Look at how good the fit and finish is on that MaxDin. We officially have it all installed. You can now throw that dash back together. It's just as easy to take apart as it was to put back together. It's a little bit more maneuvering now that there's that unit on the actual back of the whole cluster here, but once it's in, it just looks fantastic. It looks like it was made to be there from the factory. It's crazy how it modernizes the look of this car, now making it feel like a 2026 rather than 25 years old. But it's time to run the wiring for the camera, and let's start off with the dash camera. So what we're gonna need here is one of the USBs that we ran into the glove box. We are going to plug in a new wire that we have not introduced yet, which is this wire right here. It features a USB on one end and this little yellow connector on the other. We can go ahead and plug in this to one of those USBs. It does not matter which one. And then we're gonna shove this wire back up above the glove box, and we're gonna route it down the side of the glove box and then up the A-pillar all the way to the front of the headliner. But don't rush. We don't wanna use just this yellow wire, because on that wire that we ran to the back of the MaxDin, there is an additional wire that was a black connector. So this black connector and this yellow connector work in conjunction on the back of that front camera that looks over the front of the car, our dash camera. So we want to run these two wires as if they are one. Now essentially I'm just taking all of the wire for both the front and the rear. I'm running it under the glove box, as you can see here, letting it run under the glove box, behind all the locking mechanisms, through here, and then tucking it around the corner and shoving it between this crevice right here. And then I'm gonna use this kind of hole right here for the split between the dash camera and the backup camera. So we have this split right here in the wires. I'm just gonna shove this right into this panel. There's plenty of panel gap right there. And then I'm gonna use that as the split to start running some wires up and some wires down. We're then just gonna use the supplied little puller tool here, pull out this clip, and then this cover right here, we're going to use to start tucking our wires to run up that A-pillar. So we're just gonna pull this out of the way, grab our two wires that need to run up, and just tuck them right in here, and they're not gonna be noticeable whatsoever. They'll be completely hidden behind this panel, and then we're gonna start working our way up that A-pillar. Now I nicely tuck those wires right behind this panel, and I put that clip back in, and you can't even tell that there's any wires there. Now that I'm in the middle of this panel, I'm gonna just pull aside some of this weather stripping here. I'm just gonna tuck all the wires right in this weather stripping that runs up the entire A-pillar. There is so much room inside of this thing. You should be able to easily just tuck some wires up in here, and you will have no idea that they are there. All the way up, down the entire side. And check this out, you can't see anything right here. That weather strip still sits nice and flush, just like it did from the factory. Now I'm just gonna give a little tug down right in this A-pillar. There's a little clip right on the top, and we're gonna swap over right on the top here, and then start working our way under the front of the headliner. Now that I have all this wire sitting ready to run through the headliner, we do still have that remaining wire for the connection point. So all of this is not going to be needed. So let's go ahead and mount our camera here, and then we can tuck whatever is needed and left over up inside of the headliner. So let's just go ahead and remove the clip, and we're gonna set it right next to the front of our mirror. And once you do have it properly installed, the only thing that you're gonna see is that dash camera that's sitting right next to the mirror. And check out how clean this is for the dash camera wiring. You cannot see any differences. Got everything tucked up. The only thing you can see is the little wire right there. It looks really, really clean. Now we move on to that backup camera. And for this one, we're gonna tuck all of this wiring down under this panel right here. So go ahead and get the wires back behind this panel and then pull them straight so the wire sits straight, and then just start tucking it under all of this trim. Now panel gaps are one thing that are usually a negative on most cars, but it makes it so easy here on the C5. Like I said, we tuck that wire under this whole panel here, and then this plastic panel right here. We're just gonna kind of meet them here. We'll push the wire under, and we just continue doing this all the way to the back of the car. Under this plastic panel, everything just has big gaps all the way to the back. Now we're gonna take this back panel of carpet off of the C5. This is super easy. There's 4 little screws here. 1, 2, and then there's 3 and 4. And ultimately this whole thing comes off as one big unit with a couple of little spots for lights. So just be sure not to ruin those when you get there, but just kind of grab it here, kind of give it a tug forward, and you should be able to access the back end of the C5. Now we have to remove the license plate as well as one of the reverse lights. And what we're gonna do is just push these tabs in on the C5 here, and then essentially these tabs kind of release from behind the plate, And that's how you take off the plate frame itself. And then we just need 2 screws here that are holding in the plate, and that should give us access to the inside of the back of the C5. And behind the plate, we just have ourselves these 4 T15s. Which allows us to remove this whole panel as one big unit. Here's all that wire that we ran from up front for our new reverse camera. Now, ultimately, the easiest way to go about this is to create a very small hole in the tub to go back to the lights. So I just have myself a drill bit that's the exact same size as this connector, and I'm just going to make a small incision and hole directly where it essentially meets up with those brake lights. So I can use some tape to nicely lay it down and keep it flush along the whole inside of the trunk. It'll go in right through here. I'll use some tape on both sides to seal off the hole, and it should work perfect. And then we just take that red wire that was attached to that rear dash cam and we tap it into our reverse light. That way it pops up when we put the vehicle in reverse. The black one goes to black, which is ground, and then the red one goes to green, which is power. And once again, we just use the supplied connectors, squeeze them down, and it's as easy as that. And for your backup camera, you have a few options. We use the factory screw that's sitting right here. It also comes with some 3M tape if you'd rather center it, which we might do in the future. But for now, we just used what was already there, and it seems to work pretty good. And now that we have that camera installed, ultimately, we should be able to just turn on the system here, and we're gonna head in here. We're gonna go to our eSuper file. In our eSuper file, we're gonna find something that says USB drive. We're gonna download this APK with the little camera. We're gonna install this just once, install, and ultimately this should give us access to go ahead and start using our dash camera just like this. Give it allow to all the systems, always allow, and just like that. So there is our dash camera. And then check this out. As soon as we put the vehicle in reverse, we should now have a reverse camera. So as simple as doing that, we have our dash camera, reverse camera. I think that is awesome. Just by going into reverse, it's now like a completely modern car. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you officially install the brand new to the market MaxDin. This is truly an incredible system. It has so much functionality in future use that we don't even have the slightest view of what this unit is capable of. That HDMI could be for a lot of future things inside of this car. That one that we didn't touch on the back of it. We could be talking about digital dashes in the future. We could be talking about some crazy integrations with the cars thanks to what this unit is set up for in future use. And it has so much functionality that we're going to touch on in a future video as well. We're talking about launching and using different launchers to customize this and make it look your own. We're talking about the availability to essentially have a tablet that is connected to the entire system of this car. We're like using engine data and pulling codes, and this is truly integrated into the computer of this car and has so much functionality for future use. I am so excited to touch on that more in a future video. And we didn't even touch on the speakers either. This now has the capability of changing our factory speakers and having a level of adjustment that isn't even possible on like aftermarket double DINs. There is so much capability in speakers and engine software and computer management that this unit has now brought to the car. This is so much more than just a radio, and I'm super excited to continue learning about this unit and using it in the future. Don't forget to like and subscribe for future videos on the MaxDin, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this in-depth tour on how to install it.